So over the past few days, week or so, I've put about 100 miles on this car, which means the engine is broken in, which really is just like a piston ring breaking into the fresh bores on the engine. So I want to change the oil on it because that's what you do, just to be safe. So I've got a bunch of oil here. I actually need to change the oil on this car. I need to change the oil on my wife's Volkswagen. And I need to change the oil on my daily, my Subaru Impreza, but this one's nice and warmed up. So let's change the oil while it's still nice and viscous, or not viscous, I guess. I don't know words, they're hard. She's a little low, so I need to build some ramps for it so I can drive up onto them and get the jack underneath. I had these from a project I did around the house, and I've used them to get it down off the jack in the past. But as you saw, apparently they're a little bit too steep because it just pushes them. Whew. Still pretty amber. That's good. I made a little bit of a mess like usual, but oil is now changed. I definitely have an oil leak. You can see it's coming off my subframe there. A bunch of that's dripping now is from pulling the oil filter out. It gets everywhere. But I have an oil leak coming off my sandwich adapter up here. And I don't really feel like dealing with it right now. And it's not that bad. I think I need to pull the whole thing off, and I can't really tell where it's coming from. I'll do it at a future point at my work when I can put it up on a lift, just make it 10 million times easier, and I'll just be on top of I'll just keep an eye on the oil level really closely for now. Alright, I got the oil changed in the 240. That is all good to go. I also changed the oil in my daily, but I didn't record it because that thing is a turd. And you guys don't need to see any of that. But I went ahead and cleaned up the garage a bit as well. So you cleaned up all my tools off my workbench and got some stuff off the floor. This corner is sort of a mess. I definitely need some shelves in here for, this is like a bunch of household paint and everything. And my cabinets are pretty full. And then I guess this shelf up here, this is just like random stuff, parts and chemicals and all sorts of stuff. I just need to go through it and probably reorganize it because I know I could get that stuff up there if this stuff was organized a bit more. It's gotten messy as I've lived here because I sort of just have dug through it and then not kept it up as I've gone. So I think one of these days I'll get up there and reorganize all that so that this corner can sort of be open all the way up to the wall so the door can open nicely. But I know you guys have been asking for this since I came back, and I haven't given you guys any attention, or I haven't given the car any attention on the channel since I've been back, this car in particular. I've been working on the 240 because that car for me has been like what I've been wanting to do, and now that the car's running and driving and stuff, I can focus a little bit of attention on this car again, which needs a lot. But right now it is facing that way, and I sort of want it facing this way, so let me flip it around. As you might have noticed, it's a little low coming into the garage. My ramp here into the garage. It's not that steep, but I have this lip. You can see the piece of concrete I took out, one I took out here. It has this like 2-inch lip, so especially this car, which doesn't look lower than the 240, but is lower than the 240, I have issues with driving it up into the garage, so eventually I want to smooth that out. I don't know if the solution is grinding the edge of the concrete or building up concrete. I don't know what the solution is, but I need to do something about it because that is a bad move. So since I haven't even really talked about this car since I brought the channel back, I may as well. I don't really remember what where I left off on this car, to be honest, but in terms of where it was on the channel. So obviously the biggest thing is it's painted now. It's gray. This is literally just Rust-Oleum rattle can, as you can probably tell. I mean, the paint quality is quite low. Painted over some rusty spots. The deck lid here is super uneven, just because it was sort of halfway stripped before I painted it. But I was tired of it being a bunch of different colors, so I just spray painted it. Just scuffed it down one day and painted it this gray color. I think it looks okay, but that is something on my list to do to it now is fix the paint on it and try to bring it back to its former glory, which it hasn't had for probably 40 years, but make it pretty again. I would love for this car to actually be like nice looking. I think the move on this car is probably to wrap it and to not paint it, just for the sort of use that I just because of how I use this car and everything. And I've always wanted to wrap a car, so that is probably what I'm going to do for this thing. Mechanically, drivetrain wise, I've done nothing to the car since I've last uploaded a video. I know that for sure. It's been running and driving pretty nice, and had multiple events on it. I've had pretty much no issues besides the alternator. Overheating on long drives is something that I've learned. That's not really an issue that you have typically in Subarus. They get some airflow over them, but with the Subaru engine now in the middle, there's like no airflow in this engine bay, even though it's open on the top and bottom. So the alternator gets warm and then it stops charging after about an hour of driving. The suspension in the front, there's something weird going on. I don't know what the problem is, but I have a problem where, well, what's happening is it just doesn't feel right. So I definitely need to dig into that. And then overall, I need to just figure out and dial in the suspension in the alignment as a whole. I also want to go through and fix these things clearly. If we're going to make it look pretty, I got to get rid of the rust. This is the worst rust on the car, is right here. It's got the same thing on the other side, but it's not broken through like it is over here. And then this is some Bondo that had chipped off. And so this whole panel here is actually sort of full of Bondo. I'm not too worried about like banging it out and making it perfect in the metal, just because, again, sort of the purpose of the car, it doesn't really matter to me. I also want to go through, fill in like these trim holes, that sort of thing. So I have a lot I want to do to this car. I need a new hood for the car. I'm going to replace the headlights with something else. Haven't decided what I want to do with that yet, but I want to get rid of the pop-up headlights. I know some of you guys will hate me for that, but my car, so sorry. And then also, you can see it's like super slammed right now, especially in the front. So that is going to be brought up. That's probably one of the first things on my list, is raise the ride height on this car, because I need to do an alignment in the front end. I think something just came loose and that's why it feels funny, and so it's really just an alignment issue up front, I think, I'm hoping, but I definitely need to raise the front before I do the alignment, otherwise I'll have to end up doing it twice. Other than that, on my list, I want to build a new exhaust for it. This one is too low. That's my biggest problem with it, and I just think it'd be cool to build something a little bit nicer for it. You can see there it's like by far the lowest part of the car. And then I need to hook up the rear sway bar and then do some like interior stuff. Right now I don't have any gauges in there. In the past I was running a digital dash with just like a Android tablet. I still have that tablet, I just need to put it back in there, but I want to wire it in proper and make it to where it works like a dashboard, so it comes on when the car comes on and all that stuff. I had never done that in the past, and that's something I definitely want to do. Another thing I need to do before we get to making it pretty, gotta mount that back on there. In the past, when the mounts rusted off, and you can see there's some nasty welds on there. Those are from a previous owner, so I ended up taking it off because it didn't fit properly with the mounts. With the mounts that they re-welded on there, so just another thing on the list. I should really write a list for this car. And then I think sort of in terms of drivetrain and stuff, oh, that's good. The cap for my overflow reservoir wasn't on. In terms of drivetrain and engine and that sort of thing, there's not too much stuff on the list I want to do. I have a leak coming from the overflow here, so that needs fixed. I want to go through the fuel system a bit, clean some stuff up. But besides that, it's pretty good. Ducting, also another thing I want to clean up. You can see this, I never painted it. It's gotten a little rusty over the years. And then I have that lower front valence that broke into pieces. I think that was on a video a couple years back, but I still have it. I want to fiberglass it and make it one piece again and put it back on the car, because that makes the car look a lot nicer. I also have this vent from Sideways Fab that he had me, or gave to me so that I could run on the car, and you can see my attempt at aluminum welding with a TIG, which failed horribly. Never used a TIG before, and I was just sort of hopping on and giving it a shot. I ended up just riveting it on with a couple of pieces of strap. That's something else that needs to be fixed, but I think I want a new hood first, because this hood is pretty tweaked and doesn't really fit the car anymore. So I was just about to say that I thought it was just alignment related, because I couldn't find anything, and then I noticed this is the bolt that holds the steering rack in, and you can see, well, maybe you can see, it's finger tight. So I was like, oh, that's a problem, and I looked at the other one, and it's gone. So that's definitely why my steering feels funny. Because everything else, like I said, in the steering is fresh, and I couldn't see why it would be a problem, but the rack must be moving back and forth whenever I'm turning the wheel and causing it to feel pretty sloppy. So I'm going to pull this bolt out here, just figure out what thread pitch it is, and I'm sure I have another bolt hanging around somewhere that is that size. I hate doing this. I need a better solution. That's what works for now. Don't know why there's trash in here. There we go. Perfect size, thread pitch, everything. Easy. Steering rack is bolted back to the car again. I'm glad I didn't go and just drive this car with it feeling funny, because I assumed it was an alignment thing, but that could have been fairly bad if that last bolt completely backed out. Then the steering would have been really sloppy. So I'm gonna put it back on the ground, and I guess I'll go take it for a cruise out and see how it feels now. Steering feels tight again. Yeah, that was definitely an issue. The alignment's definitely off. I don't think I ever even got it dialed 100% to be honest, but it was, it's super direct like it used to be. which it should be. It's got all brand new tie rods, and the outer tie rods are freaking Heim joints, so it was like, you know, I had a bunch of slop in the steering, and now it's any input translates immediately. This car's cool. I also just did a U-turn, and it didn't rub, so raising it was definitely necessary. It used to rub like crazy, so it might not look as cool, but you know, function over form, right? I can build a stance car someday. Two other things I can add to the list that I'd forgotten about, because I haven't driven it in a long time, is the seat. I need to drop it. I mounted it to the factory rails, and it's just too high, and the driving position is awkward. I need to mount it like down to the floor. It'll make it feel a lot nicer. And I have a problem with the ignition switch now. I had it fail. Oh, I can smell the tires. I had it fail to where the starter quit working. That's why I installed a starter button. And now it's failed to where it doesn't do anything besides unlock the steering wheel. So I need to fix that for sure, because right now nothing works. Like turn signals, lights, the fuel gauge, nothing. And those are kind of nice to have when you're driving a car on the street. So I think that's going to be it for today. Got a couple things done, but got this thing back on the road again, and already it's driving better than it has in a while. So that's sort of my list of things that I need done to this car. I'll write them down here so I don't forget any of them, but yeah, it's exciting to see this car again. Also, one tip, by the way, if you have a 914, which I know a lot of my viewers do, don't buy the cheap rubber URO like suspension boots and stuff. The boots on my steering rack that I put on, I don't know, 2 years ago, maybe at the most, which I've seen very little driving, are totally dried and cracked into a million pieces. So just spend the extra 10, 20 bucks or whatever for the proper German ones, because I'm very surprised at how junk those are. I'm actually blown away. But I'm sure you guys will all be happy to see this thing back on the channel. We'll be doing quite a bit more to it here very soon, so make sure you hit that subscribe button and the bell thing so you can get my notifications when I post. And yeah, tell me you're happy in the comments to see this car again, because I know a bunch of you guys have been looking forward to it, because I've been seeing comments about it since I started uploading again. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.